Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia as usual, and I got a great guest. He was actually my very first Get in Tune guest a while back last year when he was putting out his Kickstarter for the first Mythic Creature Trainer book, and I love it. I actually contributed last year to the Kickstarter. It's got another Kickstarter going on right now for issue 2, which we're going to talk about, and I can't wait to hear about it. I'm also going to be a contributor to this Kickstarter, so let me bring him on. Rene Pfitzner, if I say it properly. Did I say it right?
That's right. It's basically like Pfizer with a couple extra consonants.
Yes. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible with names, and I meant to ask you before we went live. So thank you for coming on again. I really enjoyed chatting with you last time, and I'm looking forward to another fun conversation. I'm just organizing my screen right here. So for people who aren't aware of you or your work, can you tell us a little bit about your background as an artist, and how long you've been doing this for? And
yeah, sure. Well, I straight out of school, I always knew I wanted to do something in the visual arts, and at the time, in the mid-90s, graphic design seemed like the way to go. That was the sensible career choice. So I went into a 3-year graphic design degree, and it was fine, but I don't think it was really tailored to my strengths, which was drawing wacky cartoon characters and basically, I loved Calvin and Hobbes. I loved Peanuts, but at the same time, I was starting to get into the image comics like Spawn, Pit, Savage Dragon, all of those guys. I love the colors. It was like a revolution of printing at that time in comic books. And so, but I kind of put that to the side because I thought, you can't make money from comics. There's no job application for comic book artists. So yeah. I went and did that. Pretty soon after, I found out that Walt Disney had a animation studio up in Sydney, because I live in Melbourne.
Okay. And
I applied to their trainee program, and at the time they were doing a lot of the sequels, like the Goofy movie sequel, and Little Mermaid and Lady and the Tramp and Peter Pan and all of those ones. So I applied and was there for the next 5 or so years.
Wow.
And so started out as an in-betweener. If your audience knows that old term, that was back when it was all hand drawn. You drew every single frame from scratch, and worked my way up through the special effects department, and eventually got to character animator and started working on that. And then my work kind of took a bit of a turn. I did start to do some comics of my own. A local cartoonist here in Melbourne, Dean Rankine, he's been working for the Simpsons comics. He started to put together some Christian comics, and he would ask contributors around Australia to send in short stories. And so I thought I'd have a go at that. And really from there, my love of comics grew, and I started to do more anthologies, and eventually up to making my own comic book.
Wow. And what was your first comic you created?
It was actually back at school. This is going way back, and the quality leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think you can even find it online, but it was called Bob the Yob. So basically, Yobbo here in Australia basically means bogan, or I guess redneck might be a term that you'd use.
Okay.
And so he was just kind of went to the footy, he, drank tinnies, and basically my friend wrote the story, I did the drawings, and it was published by a local newsletter called the Bazaar Times. So that kind of gives you an idea of the kind of audience and in St Kilda in Melbourne. So that was basically where it all started.
That's great. I just want to go to the comments. We got Mike Wilkie popping on, who's a regular viewer and a fantastic cartoonist himself. And he's saying, howdy, guys, howdy. So thank you for joining and tuning in, Mike. Before we continue, I'm going to put in the comments a link to Rene's Kickstarter. If you guys have a moment, definitely after the show, or at least open it up in another window. Don't leave viewing here. You can go and donate. We're going to actually look at his Kickstarter in a few, and it's really cool. I'm just going to tell you, I went through the page today. I've watched the video, which unfortunately, because I'm using headsets, we can't hear the video if I share it. But we're going to go through some of the rewards, and I already know the level I'm donating at, and we're going to talk about it. It's a really, really cool thing here. So,
Cool.
So you've been doing comics for a while. Mythic Creature Trainer is the book that you already had a successful Kickstarter for, and you have. And you're doing issue 2 now, but before that, you had Sneaky Goblins, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And they're kind of like in the same universe, or are they just the same kind of like fantasy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really intentionally wanted it to be kind of a parallel story, roughly happening in the same time and place, but with minimal crossover. So there is some crossover of characters, but basically you can see the map behind me. That's kind of the world.
I'm gonna give you the full screen because you're cut in this layout here.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got the city there and everything where they start their adventure, and then basically in both stories, in Sneaky Goblins and Mythic Creature Trainer, they basically head off and go on an adventure, and I just love that inbuilt structure around the quest, gathering your team, finding, people on allegiances and discovering new places. It really feeds into my love for computer games like RPGs and, online role-playing like World of Warcraft. I just fell in love with that idea of exploring new areas, meeting new characters, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And you, and I know behind me I have a poster of Fellowship of the Ring, but you're also a big Tolkien fan that you took part of Tolkien's name and into your company. And
Tolcraft Comics. It's Tolkien and Warcraft mashed together. So I made up a company name, and then somebody said, well, why don't you just use your own name? And so I changed my Facebook page, but we'll see what happens.
I gotta say, I do like Tolcraft. I mean, I am a Tolkien fan. I'd never played Warcraft, but I wasn't into playing those type of games. I'm more of I'm not into like the computer game versions of that, but I love like Dungeons and Dragons and that type of stuff. So I'm just pulling up some other files of yours. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
My son has dragged us into Dungeons and Dragons. He's at the D&D club at his school, so he's bringing that home. He's setting up the books and making us play around the kitchen table, so he's loving it.
Are you enjoying it?
I am. I enjoy that. There's the structure, but also the freedom to tell stories at the same time, and
that's what I love about it. Actually, if I move out of the way, I don't know if you can see. It's being blocked. There's my tool. I have all this D&D stuff right there.
I can see the red spawns.
Yeah, I'm doing right now until the end of February. I'm doing a thing Thursday nights for a friend of mine. I'm taking over his job DMing for a group of kids at a library, so I'm having a lot of fun with that. Yeah, it's a fun gig. It's one of those things that you kind of wish will never end, but it's going to, and I'm having such a great time. But that fantasy aspect of everything, I see it completely in your work, and I mean, obviously it's in the forefront, and you can totally see your inspirations. I'm gonna share one of the screens, and before we look at Mythic Creature Trainer, I just wanted to show them a little bit of Sneaky Goblins, if you don't mind, just to kind of give them an idea before we throw out the Mythic Creature Trainer here. So let me get over here. Share screen. And we're going to go to Sneaky Goblins. Now this, I'm not going to go through everything here. This is a PDF I got from you from the last, your last Kickstarter.
Cool.
Now, when your first Kickstarter came out for Mythic Creature Trainer, it was during the height of COVID, and I was very nervous about getting stuff through the mail at the time. As I mentioned on the show before, I don't know if I ever told you, I have medical issues, and I was just very nervous about everything at that time. And I just love Sneaky Goblins so much that this right here, this is the trade. This is the entire first arc of it, right? Correct? Or is it is it the full story?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, that was the first book to come out. Yeah.
Yeah. And first of all, love the cover, love the style of art here. And this is something that I've talked about on other podcasts that I've been on and on this show. I love looking at artwork that isn't the standard mainstream artwork. When I go to comic book conventions, if I ever go again, who knows how that's going, but when they happen and I'm walking around and I see something like this stops me. When I see everybody looking like a Marvel DC Image character, I kind of tend to pass it by unless there's something that really pops to me. But anytime I see something completely different, something like this is where I'm going to stop at. This is what I'm going to look at. And just the coloring, the style of drawing, the line weight, everything here is something that gets me in to wanting to read this. And plus it being fantasy, it just works even better. For me, I love like your use of color. Now I've said on here, I'm colorblind. I see colors, but when they start blending, I have trouble telling them apart. It's actually referred to as shade blindness. And but your colors pop for me. I don't look at this and see things that will that make me not be able to understand what's going on. Nothing blends in. You know, you really use color very well.
That's good to hear you say, because I sometimes look back on this first comic, the trade, and I think, I wish I'd made it the colors brighter. You know, they seem, I don't know, maybe it's the printed page, and no one else has said this, but when I look in the book, you know, I think, I could have pumped up the brightness and contrast a little bit, which I have done in the subsequent books. So it's really good to hear you say, you know, you haven't really picked that up.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And you do it in Mythic Creature Trainer too. In the first book I read, I tend to use very bright colors, being colorblind. I use colors I can see, and sometimes I think I overdo it with brightness in my work, as opposed to what you have here. It's kind of muted in some areas, but it just really, really works. And it's a very simplistic style, but you know how to make it look complicated. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of color, I didn't mention this before, but I did a year of study at art school in Sydney while I was living up there. The art teachers would actually come to Disney and teach life drawing. And really? Eventually I thought, no, I'm going to go and check out the studio they're teaching at. And the figure drawing and landscape painting classes have just changed, everything I understood about color. So yeah, I walked out into the landscape class. We took our portable easels and I started painting. And the first couple of times it just didn't click. I didn't know what I was doing and it looked terrible. And then it just took a couple of goes, and the instructors were fantastic. They they weren't wishy-washy. They didn't say express yourself or
not they weren't. Yeah, they weren't standard teachers from a college class, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they said do it like this and fix that.
Yeah,
and I just did what they said, and eventually my colors just started to work together. And I haven't looked back. So yeah, I'm really glad that you can find that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of your work. Anytime you post artwork and I see it, I'm just like super happy. It's just it's fun and it's entertaining. It makes you want to read the stuff, you know. I'm gonna move over to Mythic Creature Trainer. This was the first issue. And obviously, it's going to be issue 1 of 4. So we're going to have a couple of more Kickstarters. We're going to have you come on and promote.
Happy to do it.
So, Mythic Creature Trainer. Before I show some of the artwork from here, do you want to give us a little pitch of what the story is about? Not to really give away the book yet, or even the second story, but just a little bit of what it is.
Yeah, well, it's about obviously a trainer of mythical creatures. So basically, when I started writing the story, I was just thinking about this character, this trainer. That's him with the dreads, and his relationship with the king. So he, he was, he wanted to prove himself. He wanted to be a valuable member of the kingdom and the palace staff and all of this stuff. And I wanted there to be a moment where he just dropped the ball and he stuffed up and he was sort of outcast from the kingdom, cast out of the presence of the king and that kind of thing, and that really tore him up. And I remember telling my friend all of this. He loves comics and he's an artist. He became an architect, but he always loved drawing and comics and he said, well, why don't you have this bigger picture where there's some kind of external force, some kind of evil presence that, that's been held at bay until this point, and that his mistake will sort of open the floodgates. And I thought, that's great. I could have an orc horde just outside of the city, and there's something about these creatures that's keeping them away. But when all of that is compromised, then they're allowed to come in. So that was kind of where I directed the story, and that's basically it. Okay. He gets fired from his job, and basically he goes on a journey to find the solution to the problem and fix what's wrong with the dragons and the mythical creatures. Yeah.
And I gotta say, the first issue was fun too. I mean, I love I think the opening is one of my favorite parts here, where he realizes he's late for work, and he's got to head over. But you see the kind of person, how he's a friendly guy with certain people, and then when you get down to where is it? I don't want to show too much of this book, but you get down to this was his boss, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah. And how his boss treats him and how other people react to him. And it's just fun. And I don't know what else to say about how else to describe it. It's a very fun story. If you're a fantasy fan and you like this cartoony style that has some humor in there but has a fun adventure, this is the book people should be getting. It's all kid friendly. You don't do anything that's not kid friendly. And so when I say kid friendly, I usually mean family friendly. This is a great book to sit down, and if you're a fan, your parents grew up on things like Lord of the Rings or Conan or whatever, this is the type of book you guys can sit down and read together and just have a lot of fun.
I've got 3 kids myself. I dedicated my first book to them, and my boys are early teenage, late primary school age, and my daughter has just started primary school, so they're in the perfect kind of target window of where I would be pitching these books. So
And
yeah, I
sorry,
basically made it for them and myself.
Yeah. And are they reading them? What's their feedback they give you?
Yeah, they every time I got a new book, they grab it and read it a couple of times, and they show their friends. And I've had a few orders on my online shop, and I'm like, wait a minute, this person's in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I find out that my son recommended it, and they got their dad to buy it.
That's
so
great.
it's really gratifying that they're out there promoting it as well, and they're telling the librarian and I think the local school library has a copy. So it's awesome.
Are these found in any stores over by you, or?
Yeah. So there's a couple of stores in Melbourne, Canberra, Adelaide. I think there might be one in Brisbane at the moment, but so a few cities around Australia. I haven't gone to the step of seeing if stores in the US want to stock it yet. I mean, I think the last year's been pretty bad with that kind of thing, but I think I'd want to get to that point. Yeah,
because I don't know if you heard, and I haven't paid attention to it in a while, in months actually, but there was always talk, especially when they were talking when all the firings happened at DC Comics, that at the end of the day, this was going to hurt comic shops, and it's the independents that are probably going to save them. Now, I don't know the whole story. I don't follow it 100%. I'm just going on the bits and pieces that I've read, but they're saying in 5 to 10 years, comic shops could be closing because of the new formats and the way companies want to start marketing their books. So would this, I don't, and I'm not asking this out of like with you having an answer right now, but my thought is this the time for independents to start trying to get to comic shops and get in there? And what's the best way? That's not a question unless you have answers. That's not a question to answer right now.
Well, I think there's always been some shops that are friendly to independents and some that aren't. I mean, I turned up to a store here in Melbourne that I'd been going to since I was a kid, and I recognized the owner, and I said, wow, I used to come here when I was a kid, and she was, and I showed her my book, and I said, you keep a copy, and she said, we don't stock Australian comics. We've just got American comics. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, that wasn't always their policy, but obviously somewhere along the road they thought, no, we're not going to, we're not going to do it. So, that's their decision. But there'll always be stores that will stock it. Even if it's only for a couple of months, they say, yep, we'll put it on the shelf for a couple of months, and we'll sell them on, we'll just, return the ones we don't sell to you. And but some of them, a couple of stores buy them outright, like All Star Comics in Melbourne, and another shop in Canberra. Yeah, so they were obviously confident that they'd be able to move the stock. So you never quite know what you're going to get when you approach a shop.
Yeah, no, I know there's a few indie-friendly stores around here by me. But I'm also, the shop I go to here where I live in Yonkers, New York, they are indie-friendly. But, there are a lot of stores. I'm 15 minutes from New York City. So,
nice.
You're in the middle of, a big comic area. So there are a lot of indie-friendly stores in the city too.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, that's great. When you start thinking about going to American indie, let me know. I'll tell you some of the stores that I'm familiar with and friendly with.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Anything I could do to help. That's one of the reasons that I started Get in Toon, is to get people. Well, the show Get in Toon. It was to help people become aware of great work that's out there that people wouldn't necessarily find if they don't know where to look, and I'm a big fan, not just being a creator, not just being a fan of comics, but I'm a fan of indie comics. I'm a fan of seeing things that are different than Superman and Spider-Man and all those. And even though I love them,
Yeah.
I'm not into those books right now and haven't been for a while. And the stuff I purchase seems to be more indie related. And I'm reading autobiographical comics, I'm reading fantasy, I'm reading science fiction, whatever it is. And I'm finding all these great things, but they're made by indie creators. They're not stuff you find in stores normally. And and you know, having this show is a way to help people who are like me, who create indie stuff, to show the work. And I want to get people excited about things that are out there. I want them to look at this and be like, oh, this is so cool. My son will like it. My daughter will like it. My nephew, whoever it is, or even it's just for them. That's the whole point of what my show really is about here. And you're creating stuff that I think people would truly have fun looking at. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the screen because I don't want to give away too much of the first book, even though it's 48 pages. I'm only on page 10. But I want to move on.
If people want to sign up to my mailing list, I give away the first issue free. So that so if you want to get on that, there's a it's on the Kickstarter page. You just click the link and it'll take you to the MailChimp sign up. Yeah,
cool. And I'm actually going to share the Kickstarter right now. And just so you know, if I'm looking down, it's not because I'm ignoring you, but it's on my Cintiq in front of me. I have 3 monitors.
Cool.
So to keep everything organized, the PDFs were on my laptop. This is on my Cintiq. So I'm going to be looking down for a bit here. Unfortunately, due to my headset wearing, which is how I hear better, I can't play the video. The audience at home won't hear it. But let's take a look at it. So not the video itself, but here are the characters again. And we're going to go through it. So early backers bonus, pledge within the first 48 hours and get some sweet wallpapers. Very cool. Now, just so you guys know at home, in my advertisements, it said it would be premiering on February 10th. I found out in our pre-interview that it's February 10th in Australia already, which on a little side note is my birthday. So I think
happy birthday. Cool.
Thank you, for tomorrow. Tomorrow here, yes, but over there I'm already 45. So, but yeah, it's just
that means we're the same age currently.
Oh, really? Cool. Well, I think I'll be ordering and hopefully getting this early backer bonus here. So now the story. Let's see here. Do I want to read a little bit of it? Do you pronounce it Ulrich or
Ulrich?
Ulrich. Okay.
Yeah.
Ulrich, one of the royal stable hands, loves his work and demonstrates talent for taming the king's mythic creatures. It's just a pity he has trouble turning up on time. Sorry. With his job on the line, Ulrich's boss charges him with making a special potion to cure the baby dragon of fever. Ulrich does his best, but his actions have far-reaching consequences that not even he could have predicted. Ulrich is always trying to get his housemate, is it Flecka?
Felka.
Felka. I'm sorry. Felka, to help him out of a tight spot. She's a palace sentinel, an elite force of the king's guards. Felka doesn't really care if Ulrich succeeds or fails, but she'll pitch in when it suits her. Ulrich's boss is not as he seems. Kevin the Goblin has his own plans, and he's willing to throw Ulrich under the bus to get there. Ulrich will discover the hard way that approval from others isn't the most important thing in life. There are characters in the story that will stand at different points on the spectrum. Some crave approval and status, while others are shunned to do what they feel feel like, without the regard of others. So to download the preview, this is the first book. This is where you were talking about.
Yep, that's it.
So if you download this preview, you can get the first issue for free, which I have in front of me on the other computer. And honestly, I've read it. I reread it earlier, like in the week, like this past weekend, when I knew you were coming back on, just to have it fresh in my head again. But I think since I got it, I've read it about 4 or 5 times now. You know, it's just I enjoy it. It's a fun story, and I'm also going to say, being a fan of your art, sometimes I just sit and look at the artwork more than read the story. But I tend to do that too with all comics here. And this is your 4th Kickstarter. So you have these are just some feedback, I guess, that you've gotten on things here.
Yeah, people just posting online. You know, when they get their books.
Yeah.
So I think it's always good to have on a Kickstarter page. You know, you'll actually get your stuff. You know, This isn't a scam. You know, there are real people who put their money into this. So yeah.
I'm looking at some of the sketches you do here, and you know, that's a fun one. I love the look of this dragon right there, looking all sad.
Yeah, that was a request. I think that one.
Okay. And as seen on, and these are places that you.
I haven't put your show on there.
No, you haven't. We got to get you. We got to get you on. Got to get me on there. Yeah. I'll send you I'll send you the logo.
Send me the logo. Yeah.
All right. And then this is about you, which we've already gone into, but there you are.
That was me at a comic convention 1 year ago. So it just came up on Facebook. That was, you know, we were still going to comic conventions.
Yeah.
In February 2020. So yeah.
Now it says here, I'm just reading, it says that you are a storyboard artist on Classic Tales and Bob's Burgers. Now, obviously, Bob's Burgers, I think most of us know. My wife is a huge fan of it. I enjoy it, but my wife's a much bigger fan than I am of that show. But Classic Tales, I'm not familiar. Is that an American show, or is that
was that was a locally made kids show. It was basically I'm not sure where they ended up showing it, but it was basically just stories and legends and myths and parables that were basically all just told and animated. Pretty straightforward. It was almost like a YouTube channel style of animation. So, but they still had enough of a budget to get it storyboarded before they sent it off to the Philippines or wherever to get animated.
Cool.
Yeah.
So 2018, you did Sneaky Goblins. And then you followed up with Sneaky Goblins at College and the Mythic Creature Trainer. And then this is some of the stuff that you've worked on. You know, I wanted to ask you, I didn't know until I looked at your page here that you did work for Mad Magazine. Was that like a regular gig, or did you get in once? What was Mad?
It was that was a one-off. That was yeah. They actually had and that's Australian Mad as well. Okay. So I had a local competition. They said, oh, you know, we'll print your comic in full, and we'll employ you to do some work. But so I was just a finalist, and you know, I got in Mad Magazine. So I'm like, I'm gonna put that on my resume.
I would, you know, I mean, now Mad doesn't exist anymore, and you know, what's funny is, God, I got to go back to like maybe 2004, 2005. No, before that. Like it's probably 2003, 2004. I met Sergio Aragonés at a Comic-Con. He's my all-time favorite cartoonist. And I showed him some of my work. And he said to me, "This is funny. You should submit it to Mad." I submitted it to Mad, and I got rejected. I got the rejection slip somewhere, you know, and it was one of those things where I'm like, Sergio told me to do. Now, I think, you know, I've met him a handful of times, always at shows, never like never like on a peer level. Not that I ever think I'd be his peer, but never like artist to artist type of thing. And I just always, found it funny. I was like, this guy works for it. He told me. Now, I don't think he's the type of guy who would like just tell me as a way to kind of shut me up and go on. At least I hope that isn't his personality, but he always seems to be a genuinely nice guy. And I just always found it funny. That story cracks me up just as a personal story. It's like, here's a guy who is Mr. Mad, and
that's it.
Then they say no. But anyway,
whatever.
Lost, yeah, that's what I say. And it's funny, when I got the rejection letter, I'm like, screw them. Mad's not funny anyway. And that's just me being, a jerk. But Mad, I've read Mad since I was like 8 years old.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge.
Yeah. I love it. And was that the issue we were in?
I love the Mort Drucker parodies. That was my favorite bit. Was the Mort Drucker. He'd do Star Wars and Terminator and all of those. It was great.
Yeah, they were beautiful. I mean, I just love everything about Met. I mean, but when you think of it, you think of Mort, you think of Sergio, and you think of Don Martin. And like those are like the three names. I know there had other artists, other people came out of there who had names, but like to me, when I think of the three artists, it's those three that are Mad Magazine to me. And but Mort's work, gorgeous. The caricature, everything. Oh, anyway,
so elegant. Like just capturing someone in, so simply is amazing.
Yeah. That's one thing I can't do. I can't caricature to save my life. I wish I could. It's one of those things. I've bought books, I've watched videos, and like there are times when I know I have nothing to do. I'm like, today I'm taking the day off and I'm going to master caricature, or at least get good enough that I can do it. And I just can't. I can cartoon very well, but I can't caricature.
Yeah, it's kind of an alchemy. I've actually, on my last two Kickstarters, I've offered people to have their portrait in the book, and people have taken me up on that. And I've had some great feedback from, because it's risky, because I've never met these people before, but I tell them, so they sign up to the pledge level, and then I ask them for photographs. So I don't just want one photograph. I want at least 5, so I can get an idea of their personality, how they look from different angles, and then I drew the drawings. I send them a few drafts, and they kind of pick one. They say, this kind of captures me, I feel like, and then I go from that. And I kind of I try and fantasyify them a little bit, give them a witch's costume or make them a goblin. I made my brother into a goblin a couple of books back. So a goblin chef, because he wanted to be a chef for a while.
That's
so cool. you got this goblin serving up a rat head on a platter. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I had some fun with that.
And is that in Sneaky Goblins, or is that in?
That was in Sneaky Goblins at college. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I have a PDF of that one. I have the first one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. I'll send it to you.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Thanks, I appreciate that. Let's scroll down here. So the book. So you're gonna have a 36 full color, perfect bound book, plus the cover. So really, it's a 40-page book when you think of the page count for printing, right? Printing purposes. And 36 can be perfect bound, like in comic form.
So the terminology that my printer uses is that the staple, the stapling counts as perfect bound. I don't really understand it.
Over here, we call it saddle stitched.
Oh, okay.
That's why. Right. Perfect bound is when we have a nice clean spine, like if we're getting, like I have my Jack Kirby New Gods here, like that's
nice.
A perfect bind, perfect bound book.
Okay.
So,
I should look that up to avoid any confusion. But it's basically just stapled.
Yeah. Okay. Interior. Okay, and it's standard comic book size.
Yeah.
Everything is. That's cool. Now. So you're Mythic Creature Trainer, I'm just looking at this here. There's a link to the webcomic.
Hmm.
Now, is everything that you have in here, this is basically just the webcomic printed, or is there extras along with it?
Yep, there's extras. I've actually redrawn some of the pages, so that's that's a little bit different there for starters. I've corrected all the typos, so so you actually get a nice clean proofread version of the book, because I make it in Photoshop, and of course Photoshop doesn't have spell checker.
Yes.
Well, my version doesn't anyway.
Yeah, no.
So so I'm there, blithely putting out all these mistakes, and then people write back and said you misspelled this and so on. Apart from that, I've got a pin-up section, so I've got some fan art that people have sent in, and I'm going to put some of those in, and of course the thank you page with the portraits and the backers' names. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's an awesome piece. I'm just looking at the cover. I really enjoy it. So now these are some of the behind the scenes work. Interesting. Now, last time we talked, you were explaining to me that you do a lot of stuff on paper, scan it in, and do you ink? I forgot. Do you ink digitally or do you ink on paper?
I ink digitally. Yeah, I've got a Cintiq, so I do the drawings on paper, scan them, sort of shuffle them around in the panels in Photoshop, and then do the inks and colors. Yeah.
Very similar to how I work. I for some reason I can doodle on a computer just drawing, but when I really want to draw, I need paper, and I just airdrop them over, and I don't, because since they're just pencils, I don't care kind of if they're clean scans or not. I just and then I just do what you do. I put them together in Photoshop and say this goes here, this goes there, and like you can see the cut of the when it comes up.
So I've got the lasso tool and pulled bits apart, because they were too squashed together, and I like that flexibility. But like you say, it's just something about drawing on paper that I still really like. So for the meantime, I'll just keep drawing on paper, and maybe I'll move over to 100% digital, but not quite yet.
I do that on occasion. But it's not enough for me to say I could do everything digitally. I just I like being pencil and paper a little too much for me to say I need to go full digital.
Yeah,
this is just beautiful.
That's the interior of the city library. There's a bit of Game of Thrones reference thrown in there.
Someone else will have to tell me. I got to be honest. I wasn't a Game of Thrones fan. I wish I was. It was something that I wanted to like because of all my love of fantasy and stuff, but the show just didn't do it for me. I watched like the first season and a little bit of the second. I was like, nah, I'm done. My wife loved it. She watched the whole thing, but
right.
I know. Now I'll have to have her look at this picture and then have her tell me what's going on the page.
It's the Citadel in Old Town. If you're Googling, you can find the Citadel. Was the reference for that.
Okay. I'll have to take a look. I'm just looking. Let's scroll a bit more. I don't want to scroll too fast, so I don't, for the audience.
Sure.
I love the house design too. Just the curves and how it doesn't look like it should work together, but it does.
They've renovated a couple of times, so they've added some extensions and built it up, and and they've got a pizza oven in their living room. So
I was gonna say this is great though. All right, I'm gonna stop looking at the art. Let's go over some of the rewards now, which we're looking at. Oh, we come to rewards. So instead of scrolling down on the side here, we're just going to look at here. So for $6, and you guys remember at home, for those watching in America here, that there is a difference, that the price is higher in Australia. So underneath it says about $5 United States. So for that, you're just going to get the PDF of that issue. For $12, you're going to get PDFs of issues 1 and 2. And then you pledge $15, you get the print copy of number 2 and the PDFs of the other two, of the two issues. You pledge 20, you get PDFs, the 2 PDFs and a PDFs of the other work. So those are the 2 sneaky goblins as well. 25, you get all the PDFs and you get the printed copies. Now in this one here, what you call the limited edition, it's $35 Australian. You get 2 copies of issue 2, including the limited variant cover. You get a copy of issue 1, a signed limited print, and your name in the book, plus all the PDFs. So this is the limited print right here?
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this one right here, original character sketch. 2 copies of issue 2, including the variant cover, a print copy of issue 1, an original signed sketch, a signed limited edition print, your name in the book, all the PDFs. And this is actually the level I'm going to be purchasing. For a couple of reasons. One, I want an original piece of artwork by you. And number 2, because I was nervous about COVID and getting stuff in the mail, I would actually like a printed copy of these books because I prefer print to digital. But I really wanted to read, which is why I did the digital last time. Now, the catch-up bundle. And if I was able to afford this, I would have gone for this level. It's $95 Australian. Now you're going to get the Sneaky Goblins 160-page graphic novel. You're going to get the Sneaky Goblins short story comic book. And these are all printed, along with issue 2, or 2 copies of issue 2 with the variant cover. Issue 1, the original signed sketch, a signed limited print, your name in the book, and all the PDFs. And now for 200, is this the highest
basically, one? I like to keep things simple, so every level just adds another thing. So yeah, I don't want people to think, oh, I want this level, but it doesn't have the thing before. So I just like add it all together.
Yeah. So this one here, an original pencil art. So the original pencil art's from the book.
Okay.
Yeah. That's great. And then for 300, all the same stuff, but now your portrait in the book. So you're doing a limit of 6, which is 300 Australian. And that's you in the book?
No, that's one of my backers.
Oh, okay. Kind of has a little look of you there. I can see that.
He's got a much better jaw than I do.
Yeah, no, I like that's a good one there. And then some more character included in the $60. Okay. So these are just
some examples of some of the sketches I've done, and wow.
I just want to go back up. I like the poses you got here.
I normally do these in front of the TV when I'm watching with my wife in the evenings. I just pull out a sketchbook and I'm like, right, I'm going to draw another sketch drawing, honey.
Yeah.
She's like, that's fine.
Yeah, I got to be honest. When I sit and watch TV with my wife, my drawing pad's with me all the time. It's
perfect.
I never. She asks me if I can ever be alone without it, and I said only when I'm sleeping. It's the only time I don't have it. And sometimes it's next to me not in the bed, but like on my nightstand or something. It's always there.
Yeah,
this is great. I just love your design. And then this was an owl bear relaxing in the owl cave. That's great.
So that was a request. So in about a week, I'm going to introduce this a new pledge level where you get the character sketch, but you also get to request a drawing. So, people have sent me requests, and and there's all these outlandish scenarios. So yeah, I really wanted to build that into the campaign as well.
All right. And then you got these ads. So I'm sorry, I was just reading kind of to myself. So you get, so if you add $15, you get an extra copy of the regular cover, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then extra copy of issue 1. And since they're the same price, do you choose which one or?
Oh no! So this is a new feature that Kickstarter's just introduced. So at checkout, you can decide how many. If you want to customize your pledge a little bit. So I've just added a couple of options. I haven't made it too difficult. You see these campaigns where there's like 100 different options, but
yeah,
so you can just click. Oh yeah, one extra copy of this and 2 extra of that, and you can just add it to your order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So another sketch, $80. You can add pencil art to it, and the budget. What will they be used for? Okay. Total budget $4,000. Very nice. Just looking at here, postage is a bit more unpredictable, especially when you factor in COVID-19, but we built in a buffer in case there's a delay in any stage. I'll be packing and shipping the books from Melbourne, Australia. Okay. Which is, I'm just thinking of myself. I'm trying to think of what postage would be to America for me, but that's me and my.
Yeah. So if you just if you just go through to checkout, it'll
yeah,
add it
no, I know.
So I think I've got the best postage that I can that also will protect the books, and so far I haven't had any complaints about books arriving bent because of my packaging. So that's I must be on the right track.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, listen, I've when I look at stuff like this, I know the people who put in. I've had a lot of people promoting Kickstarters on here. I've had a lot of people come on and who just really work hard at making sure if you're spending the money on their product, that it's going to come to you in like perfect condition. So I believe me, I understand you guys. Yeah, I mean, and it's a lot of money. I've never done a Kickstarter, but I have mailed things out to people. People asking for commissions or my own products and stuff. And you want to make sure, that they're giving you your money. You don't want to have it that there's issues with anything.
Yeah.
So I completely understand.
If people really are upset, like I'll just send it out again. Like that's no worries. Yeah.
I just love the art. I don't know what else I can say about it. I mean, this is something. When I forgot how I discovered your work for the first time. I forgot if I saw it, like if I was just looking up webcomics and your work appeared to me, or I really don't remember how it came up to me. But since I first saw your work, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. I'm actually going to have to go back and watch our first interview probably, because I might tell you in there. So I really don't remember how I discovered your work, but man, it's some of my favorite to look at.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Appreciate it.
So we already know a little bit about the story. Is there anything you can tell us from book 2 without really giving away book 1? I know you give book 1 away, but I want people to come and read it. So I don't really want you to spoil book 1.
No, book 2. So, the plot thickens and he actually sets out on his quest. So he doesn't quite know he's been set up. He doesn't realize that yet, but he he has to convince people to come on the quest with him. So he does a bit of that and finds another ally in Mordecai. He's the buff character with the mace over his shoulder. So he's a new addition to the team. So he's a bit more hardcore than Ulrich. He's kind of the next level of creature trainer, and Ulrich kind of looks up to him. Yeah, that's him. And yeah, so he goes to him, and there's a conflict. There's an attack on Mordecai's place of residence, which is a little hut out in the middle of nowhere. And actually, my inspiration for for that character was I think it's Bjorn, the shapeshifter in The Hobbit.
Okay.
So the guy who changes into a bear. This guy doesn't, he's not going to shapeshift while you're not watching. But I love the aesthetic, especially in the Peter Jackson movies, of the house, and it looks like it's been built into the hill almost, and there's grass on the roof, and there's this real rustic feel to it. So I wanted to bring all of that to this character and the place that he lives. So that was really a homage to that character in The Hobbit. And and they'll get together and get going on the quest. So yeah, it's really just pushing the story forward as you'd expect in part 2 of 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, now let me ask, since this is a 4-part, do you already have the story done in your head, or even drawn out, or? Yeah.
So actually, as of hopefully this month, I'll have completely finished the artwork for issue 3. So I've got a bit of a buffer. It probably won't be until later this year that I'll actually get the Kickstarter running. So I'm probably looking at September, October.
Okay.
This year. And but I've definitely started on issue 4, and I just I finished the script, but I wanted to really nail it down and tinker with it a bit more, and I've been getting some help with that from some friends who are writers, and so still tightening that up a bit, but I basically know where it's all going.
That's great. That's great. It's a hard I know doing multiple or a long format story is hard to figure out. I'm working with a writer right now who's a friend of mine, one of them, to me, a very amazing writer, one of the best. And I had a story, and I'm planning to release it in the summer of this year as a webcomic, and it's a sci-fi webcomic. But I whoops, hold on, sorry, I hit something on my computer here. But I didn't want to write it, so I just plotted out the story and gave it to my friend to write. And I'm waiting for the last 10 pages for the script to be finished. But I'm going to hopefully start actually drawing it next week. And
that's exciting. That must be really cool to see somebody flesh out your story.
Yeah, and it's one of those writers, and I've said this on air before, where he just got the character. He knew, he understood the characters. What he didn't know, he asked me about, and it was just like, I get it. And everything he gives me, it's so little notes on it. And it's amazing that I'm like, this guy just got it so well that every time he writes or I get a new page, I just want to start drawing, but other projects get in the way at the time. And so I just got to finish a couple of projects, and then it's nothing but that webcomic for me. And it's going to be.
Don't you love it when you finally cleared everything else off your plate and you can really focus on it? Yeah.
No, it's great. I just want to let you know, I don't know if you've noticed this while looking at the page or if you're refreshing at home, but you're only asking for $3,090 in Australian currency, and you're already at $1,322 as of the last time. I'm going to refresh the page. Sorry, I refreshed the wrong page. I hope we're still on the internet. It looked like it. You hear me?
We lost it for a second.
Yeah, no, I was on the wrong website, and I refreshed myself.
Okay. Well, good to have you back.
Okay, I am here, and I'm refreshing the page. Okay, so you're at 1322, 49 backers, 29 days to go, and it's 9:30 here in America. What time is it over by you?
It's 1:30 in the afternoon.
I think, so it's 1:30. This thing's been live since midnight today, I assume, for you?
It's been live about 5 or 6 hours.
Okay, 5 or 6 hours. You've already got almost half your money. I really do think there's a good chance this could be funded in one day for you.
Yeah,
I think you guys.
The best day one I've ever had. I reckon this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is great. And I know when I sign off here, like I told you, I was going to back earlier, but I was having issues. I don't know if it was because I was on Google Chrome doing it. But I'm looking at everything on Firefox, and right now when I'm sharing stuff, so I'm going to try to look at, donate after we get off the air to
Sweet.
it, because I need that within 48 hours and get the desktops. So,
I've got to get those desktop screens.
and you know what? And you know what I'm going to do with them, right? And I'm probably not even going to use them. I'm probably going to learn to draw your style. I'm going to probably put it in Photoshop and write in the layer and just try to learn how you draw your style, which is what I tend to do.
Making me blush here.
Well, I think it's one of those things where I don't think you and I have too different of a style. It's just, I do cartooning, but your cartooning is a little different. So there's little things I'll look at and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. And I do that when I look at other people's work all the time. Can I incorporate it into mine somehow that I really like? Like I can look at my character that I was talking about, like his name's Dax Photon. It's a sci-fi story. And I see where Hanna-Barbera came in, and I see where this artist came into it, and it's like, oh, this is from this is from that, and it's like, oh, like one of the things I do that you don't, or that you do that I don't do, is you actually show the muscles on characters. I tend to be very Bruce Timmish in my arms and legs, and so I don't always, and it's just like straight line, straights versus curves and stuff. But I like how your stuff just pops, and
that's probably my art school background. I can't help but show a bit of the musculature, especially on those more I guess you've got shades of cartooniness. So Ulrich is pretty cartoony. You've got Garth who's like this super cartoony guy, and then you've got Mordecai who's a little bit more realistic. So you've got I just like to have fun with different kind of approaches to it as well.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's one of the things I love about it. Your characters, and I don't know if this is your art school, that you're working for Disney, just the way you think, but your characters, even though they all obviously look like they fit in the world together, they're all so different that you can see their own individual personality or their job or whatever you want to call it within, if you want to use the term silhouette, if I saw their silhouette, I would know who they are. But what I'm saying is, like, they work together, but they're all so different. Not one character is like drawn the same, Yeah.
That was very deliberate. Like one of the first things I did after I wrote the outline of the story was I got a sheet of paper and I just drew all the characters and with their names underneath, and I made sure each one had a different shape. So like you say, the silhouette would be unique for each character.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. I wish I could say more other things than so good or it's fun, but it is. That's the work
that's
you
good enough for me.
I mean, it's one of those things where, if you just you end up caring about the characters. You end up, just wanting to see more. I mean, it's great that it's a webcomic and you could read it, but to have it in your hand and to take it with you, or just to whatever, it just adds to the enjoyment of the comic. And I got to recommend everyone, because we're going to be wrapping up in a few. And I don't really have any more questions, but if there's anything you want to add, which I'll ask you, you're more than welcome to. Everybody, when this show is done, if you haven't already, please make sure you go to his Kickstarter, fund this. You definitely want to see issue 2. If you didn't fund it, go to one of the levels you get issue 1 at as well. It's just, you're going to love it. If you're a fantasy fan and you want, and I don't want to use the word clean, but it's like I said, family friendly stuff. It doesn't, I come from the less is more. You don't have to show things. You can suggest things. That's the kind of stuff your work is about, and that's one of the things I maybe that attracts me to it is that I can read your story and be like, ooh, if he did this, it could get very dark here very quick. And but it's like, no, you just want people to have fun and enjoy it, and that's that's the beauty of what you're creating. So.
Well, yeah, the irony is my personal preference does kind of go sometimes towards the darker stuff. I mean, I just read Kirkman's Outcast about the preacher in the small town, and there's some pretty dark stuff there. But I would never think to create something like that. Like I don't think my style is. I don't think I could get away with it. People would just be confused.
And that's the thing about my work is I enjoy that stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'll watch whatever. I'll read whatever. But when I'm creating, I just can't create that. I don't think I could do it. And that's just I mean, I guess it's just maybe influences, our jobs, whatever it is that led us to creating comics and what we like. Before we go, and I'm going to ask you to hang out backstage for a moment, but before we go, is there anything you'd like to add that we didn't go over and you'd like to chat about?
Oh man, I think we covered just about everything, and if we didn't cover it, it was probably talked about in the first one we did together back in was it May last year? So,
I believe it was May.
I just want to say thanks for watching, guys, and Michael, thanks for the work you do and bringing new projects to light and showing off people's artwork and stories. It's a great thing you do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I want to thank you for being a creator and giving us these stories that can allow us to escape, our lives for if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 seconds, it doesn't matter. You're providing entertainment, you're providing a form of escapism, things people in the world need, especially in the COVID times when hopefully things are going to start changing soon, but we still don't know. And this is the type of stuff people need in their lives right now. So thank you for being able to do this for people.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for coming on. I definitely, when you get the next Kickstarter, I want you on. We'll definitely talk about it. And the one after that, I will be sitting here. I'm going to be one of your biggest fans for promoting your Kickstarters and stuff, man. I just got to tell you that.
Appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So I'm going to drop you backstage, and I will. I'll be with you in a minute. All right. Thanks again. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I had a great time tonight. I love looking at Rene's work. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want you guys to, really go to the Kickstarter. The link is in the bio, not in the bio, sorry, in the comments. Although it doesn't seem to have gone to the Twitch page for some reason. Anyway, I'll get that posted up there for people. You can follow, I didn't say this, but if you go down the bottom to his Facebook and Instagram, it's Fitzy Draws. It's PFITZYDRAWS. He's got some great stuff there. I follow him in both places. I love looking at the stuff. And just remember, you guys can follow me on Facebook at getintoon.net, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter at Michael Grassia, and on Twitch at ToonMaker76. Tomorrow night, which I did say tomorrow's my birthday, I'm going to be on Nerds of the Round. So you can look them up on YouTube and Facebook. It's Nerds of the Round. I'll be on there at 9, going from 9 to 10. And I have my Saturday storytelling. I'll promote that, maybe tomorrow or Thursday, tell you what the topic is. And next week, I'll have another guest for you on here. So you guys, thanks for tuning in. I will see you all soon. Have a great rest of your day and great week. All right. Bye, guys.